Okay, for the C++ program, the structure is given here. The first line is your header file. So in that header file, the IO stream is the input and the output stream, and known as the preprocessor directory. Means this the cout is your statement. It is function that is used to print the statement on the screen. Okay, so this function definition is declared in your iostream.h. Okay, means here. Okay, the identifier iostream is the name of the file in the standard C++ library, and iostream includes in the these brackets, these triangular brackets, is known as a standard header. So this is standard header. This is the built-in header file provided by the C++. The second line is the main function within the body of which you start writing the code for your program. And every C++ program must include one and only one main function. There should be, throughout your C++ program, there should be only single main function will be there. Okay. And the next line, these curly braces, this starting, this open and this closing, actually contain the program body, and the next statement will output the given message on the screen. Means this cout. The cout is just used to print the message hello and welcome to the C++ on the screen. And the symbol, this insertion, this symbol represents C++ output operator. So this is also called as your output operator. When this statement get executed, the character enclosed in a double quote mark, means in a double quote, are sent to the standard output device. Means it sends on the screen. So this is about the program structure. First one is your header file, right? Then next is the main function. Okay, and this curly braces, it represent your main function body, and cout is used to print the statement or the output on the screen. And this is your operator, right? It represent the output operator for the C++. The next is the different kinds of data type in your C++. Okay. So data type, it represents the type of the data. Means in your program, we are going to manipulate different kinds of data. Means you can play with the number value, you can play with the alphabets, you can play with the floating point value. Okay. So for every data type, means for every data, there is some type are predefined in your C++. Okay. So basically, there are three kinds of data types in the C++. First one is the derived data type, then built-in data type, and user-defined data types. Okay. So in case of your built-in data type, it is again divided into three subtypes: integer, float, and the void. Okay. So in integer, integral type, first is the int and char, and under the floating type, it is float and double, and void means nothing. Okay. So let me give you the one example for each. Integer means it represents the number. Like suppose in the program you want to collect the roll number from the students. Okay. So the roll number is of your integer type. Okay. Suppose you want to collect some single value, some single character value. So in that case, you can you use the data type char. Char means character value. Next is the floating type. Floating means the point value. Okay. Point means suppose the value of pi is 3.14. Okay. And double will represent the it will represent the number in the fractional, but it has some longer range than your float variable. Okay, this is the double in this way. Okay, and void means nothing. So just concentrate on the data type that I am teaching you now. Don't ask me what is the array, what is the function. I'm not done with the integer and the float point. Okay, so I will explain you everything. So integer means it will represent a number value, like your roll number 1, 2, 3, 4. Character means it represents the character values. Float means the value that are in a fractional value. Okay, float means your fractional value, like your pi value. And double means double is again represent your fractional value, but it supports your longer, it has some longer length as compared to your float value. Okay, so your integer type has a some value. Okay, as we measure the materials in a different units, like you have a kg, then liters. Okay, we measure the liquid in the liter format. Okay, liter unit. So in case of programming language, we use the unit byte. Okay, byte is the unit that is used to measure the everything in your program, data type and all. Okay, so your data type integer, this first one, your integer has size 2 byte. Okay, whereas your character has a size 1 byte. Okay, then float has it has a size, it has a 4 byte. And double is of 8 bytes. And void means nothing. Okay, so your 1 byte is equal to what? Do you know this bit and the byte conversion? Anybody from you? Yes, 1 byte is equal to 8 bits, right? So in this way you can convert this value into the bits. Okay, these are the measures. Byte that is used to measure, otherwise it is used to calculate the memory allocation for these data types. Okay, and array, functions, and the pointer and the reference. So array is a separate topic from your C++. Again, function, pointer, and the references, so all these topics are covered later, as well as the structure union and the class and enumeration. Okay, so basic there are only these data type: integer, character, and the float and double. Next is the types of modifier. Okay, types modifiers means unsigned, long, short, and the constant. So unsigned means it does not use the sign bit, means for the number system we use the plus and the minus sign, right? Unsigned means it does not use a sign bit. Okay, and long means may have twice as many bytes as a base type, and short means may have the half as many bytes as a base type, and constant means its value does not change during the program execution. And next is the most important topic, variables. Okay, so a variable is nothing but a name given to a storage area that our program can manipulate. Each variable in the C or C++ has a specific type which determines the size and the layout of the variable memory. The range of values that can be stored within that memory, and the set of operations that can be applied to the variable. And the name of variable can be composed of letter, digit, underscore, characters, and it must begins with either letter or an underscore. Uppercase and the lowercase letters are distinct because C is your case sensitive. Okay. So what is the variable? Variable means whose value varies during the program execution. Okay. So the declaration of a variable involved name of the variable and its data type. Okay. Data type means that we already discussed: integer, character, float, and the double. Okay. So here integer is the data type. Okay, so what is the syntax to create the variable? First one is your data type. So I want to declare integer variable. So integer is my data type and roll number is my variable name, right? Again, I want to store the average result. So I will declare the one float variable, right? Because average value may come in a decimal, in a fractional part, like your percentage, 96.15, otherwise 75.12 in this way. Okay. So depending upon the type of data, you have to declare the variables. Okay. So the syntax for the variable declaration is data type and then it's a variable name. And on a single line, you can declare the multiple variables. Suppose again in the program, I want the variables like integer variable, integer marks. Okay, that will store the marks of every subject. Marks, comma, again same roll number. Okay, so on a single line, you can declare the multiple variables of a same type. Okay, so integer is a data type, marks is the first variable, then use the comma operator and then write the second variable name. And every sentence in this C++ is ends with a semicolon. So this semicolon is important, right? The next is the type of constants. Okay, so constant means the constants are declared with the const keyword. So now what is the keyword? So keywords are the reserved words of every programming language. We cannot use that keyword as a variable name, otherwise as a function name. They are predefined and they are reserved for every programming language. So int is the data type, and after the data type you have to write the variable name. Okay, so the constant, so name itself indicate that is used to declare the constant value, that is a fixed value. Okay, fixed. So const keyword is used to declare the constant variable, a type and their name and an assignment of their constant value. These value must match the declared type and is a fixed for the during the program execution, right? So const means C-O-N-S-T. This keyword you have to use. Okay, everything should be in small case because this is a case sensitive language. You have to use the every keyword as it is. For integer, write int. Everything is small. For char, write everything is lowercase. Okay. So there are three kinds of constants in your C++, right? Numerical constant, defined constant, and symbolic constant. So, and again, numerical constant is divided into four types: integer, character, floating point, and the string. Okay. So integer means number, character means single character value, A, B, C, any kind of character. Floating point means it's a point in fractional part. So now what is a string? So string is the combination of your character. The collection of character values is nothing but your string. Okay. The defined constant and symbolic constant. So for the integer constant, declare with the const keyword and has a fixed integer value. So const is the keyword. I want to declare one variable integer I is equal to 0 and I want to make this variable constant during the program execution. So I will declare that variable as a const. So the value of that variable will not be changed. Okay? The const integer. If you understood about the data type, so it is easy for you to understand this constant. Okay, then character, it declared with the const keyword and has a fixed character value. Okay, so this CONST, this is const, it is a keyword. Char A is equal to value U. Okay, then floating point means this fractional values. Const double pi is equal to 3.14. And next is the string value. Okay, string, an example of string is char array of 5 ABCD. Okay, so let me tell you in detail about the string. So the string is your collection of the character value, right? String is collection of character values. Okay, so how to declare the string? Write the char, same data type is there, char, and this is the name of the string, and in the square bracket pass the size. So I want to declare the character string array ARR, and its size is 5. So 5 will represent the size of your that particular string. Okay, so here in the given example, my size is size for the string is 5. So that my array, this string array will store the value only of 5 characters. So A, B, C, D, E. This. Okay. Suppose I want to store the value. I want to store the name of the city. So the name of the city may vary, the size may vary. So instead, I will declare the array of, not sorry, array. I will declare the string of size 15. Okay. So in that, in this city string, I can store the name of the city which is less than 15. Okay, whose size is less than 15. Next constant is the define constant. So hash define and directory and preprocessor directory. So generally we use the hash keyword to define the library files of your C++. So similarly, you can define the constants variable. So hash define directive causes a macro or the symbolic name to the define as a macro. That is, it set up an equivalent balance between the identifier and your text phrases. Okay, so here this hash define pi 3.14159, this variable pi will accessible throughout your program. Why? Because we are declaring this value of pi at the top of your program, at the starting of your program. Generally, we normally we specifies at the beginning of your program in your main program. We write this hash define and this value at the top side of your program. And the next is the symbolic constants. Okay, symbolic constant means enumerations. Okay, in addition to the predefined data types in the C++, allows you to define your own special data types. Okay, this is done using these several ways, and one of the way is to use the enumeration. And enumeration of the symbolic constant is introduced by an enum declaration. So this enum, it is again the reserve word, it is a keyword of the C++, and this is useful for declaring a set of closely related constants. And the syntax, the first is the enum, this is your keyword, then type name and your numeration list. Okay, so here enum is your keyword, type name defines the identifier that names the type being defined, and the enumeration list stands for the list of names of the integer constant. Here you can pass the list. So suppose, for example, enum, and I want to create the list enum days. Okay, so days are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and so on. Okay, so this is my list for days. Okay, so after declaration, suppose I want to access, I want to fetch this list, so I will declare the one instance for that enum, days D, and by using that D instance, I will fetch the values of this days enum. Okay. And your enumeration are partially useful for naming the case of your switch case statement. Okay. This is your enum. And next is a compiler token. So your compiler is a software that converts your program, that checks your program syntax line by line. It checks everything, whether the keywords are correct or not, whether where is a semicolon is given or not. Okay, it checks everything. So the compiler, there are some tokens. So when a C++ compiler analyzes your program, it breaks the program into the tokens. Okay, and the token is a distinct unit that is recognized by the compiler. So basically, there are five types of your token. First is the keywords, then literals, identifiers, operators, and the white space. Okay. So in order to separate the keywords, literals, and the identifier, some white space is required within the program, and the white space may also be used to provide the documentation in the form of your comments. So what are the comments? Comments are explained later on in this chapter. Okay, so we will learn at that time. And to make the program readable, a C++ compiler takes each token to be the longest sequence of a character that can be used to form the token. So now let's study each token one by one. First one is your keywords. Okay, so the keywords, there are total 48 keywords in your C++. Okay, there are total 48 keywords under your C++. Keywords should be considered to be a reserved words of that language, and keywords are not allowed to be used as a variable name. Okay, so there are total 48 keywords under your C++. Okay, next is the identifier. So identifier, a valid identifier is a sequence of one or more letters, digit, or the underlying symbols. There is no limit to the length of an identifier, and although for some compiler only first 32 characters of an identifier are significant, neither the space nor the mark letter can be the part of an identifier. Only the letter, digit, and the underlying characters are the valid in case of your identifier. And the case is a significant, and all the characters are considered significant. And the language keyword should not be used to define the identifier. And next is the literals. Okay, so literals may be the character constant, your integer constant, your float constant, or the string constant. And the operator, your operator has total 10 to 12 types. We will discuss about this operator in the next slide. Okay, and the white space means it is a blank space, empty space. So there are total 11 types of operators in your C++. Arithmetical, increment, decrement, relational, logical, conditional, assignment, bitwise, then operators dealing with the stream, comma operator, size of, and the scope resolution operator. Okay. We will learn each operator one by one. So an operator does the sum operations on the operand, and this operation is normally specified by the operator symbol. So C++ has a many operators, mainly classified as a unary operator working on a single operand, and the binary operator that works on the two operands. Like suppose, basically there are two types. Okay, first one is a unary, and second one is your binary operator. Okay, so your unary operator works on a single operand, whereas the binary operator works on the two operands, such as a plus b. Okay, and for the unary, only a plus plus. Oh, sorry, only b plus plus. So this is difference between unary and binary. For the unary, you require only single operand, whereas for the binary, it works on the two operands. Though the C++ allows us to multiple meaning to the operators, yet their association and the precedence remains the same. The operators, the first operator is your arithmetical operator. Okay, so they are used for the mathematical calculation, and arithmetical expressions is made up of the constant, variables, and the combinations of the both or the function call. So basically, there are unary arithmetical operator and the binary arithmetical operator, and third one is your ternary arithmetical operator. Okay. So for the unary, you require the only one operand. For binary, you require two operands, and for the ternary, you require the three operands, right? So operator plus, minus, multiplication, division, and the modulus. Okay. So suppose there are two variables. Okay. So what is the variable? Variable is the variable are the entity that store the values. Okay, so here there are two variables, integer variable. Okay, so int a is equal to, sorry, this is a capital A is equal to 10, right? Comma, and b has a value 20. So now we are going to apply the arithmetical operator on these two variables, a and b. Okay, so a plus b, it adds the two operand. A plus b is equal to 30. Minus a minus b means here a is 10, b is 20. So it will return the result minus 10. Multiplication, it multiplies your both operand. Okay, means a into b. Divide, it divides your two values. So b by a is equal to your 2. So your division operator returns the your quotient, whereas modulus operator returns the remainder. Okay, so this modulus will give us the remainder. So here when we perform the b mod a is equal to 0, right? Why? Because your modulus operator returns the remainder, whereas division operator returns the quotient, right? So as per the program requirement, you can use this arithmetical operator, right? Next is the increment and the decrement operator. So in the sum situation, we need a need may rise to increase or decrease a value of a variable by 1. Okay, sometime there might be a requirement in the program. You have to decrease the value of the variable by 1 or increase the value of variable by 1. Okay, so increment and the decrement. So increment will increase the value by 1 and decrement will decrease the value by 1. So let's assume the x is your variable. Okay, and two operator plus plus, this is increment, and the minus minus is decrement operator. So again, there are two types, pre and the post. Okay, pre and the post means pre increment and post increment. This is decrement means pre decrement and the post decrement. Okay, so how both are different? How both are different from each other? So let's discuss. So suppose my variable x has some value. So integer x is equal to 10. Okay, and suppose I will write x plus plus. So in that case, my value for the x variable is what? 11. Okay, suppose I will write x minus minus. So it will decrease the value for variable x by 1. So my x becomes 9. So about the pre and the post. Okay, so let me declare one variable here. So y is equal to x plus plus. Okay, this is one sentence, one statement. Then z is our next variable, and z is equal to minus minus x. Okay, so just we will consider this z is equal to minus x later. First, just concentrate on y is equal to x plus plus. So in this y is equal to x plus plus, this is a post increment. Post means after, right? Means here this is the equal to is the assignment operator. Okay, so in every programming language, it works from your right to left. The associativity of every expression, it works from your right hand side to the left hand side. So here this is the x plus plus, means this is a post increment. So here it will assign the value of variable x to the y. So my y becomes 10. Okay, listen carefully. First, it will assign the value of variable x to y. So my y becomes 10, and then it will increase the value of x. Why? Because it is a post. Post means first perform the other operations and then increment the value of variable x. Hence, my x, after the assignment, my value for the x will 11. Are you getting me? Do you have any question? Because this is the pre and the post is important. Okay. So this is what post increment means. First perform the operation and then increase the value. Okay. Do you have any question in the post or increment? Okay. So in case of your post, this is a post. I haven't explained you the pre. Okay. This is the post increment. So here first it will place the value of variable x to variable y. Why? Because this is assignment operator. It will assign the value of variable x to variable y. So my y become 10, and value for the x is then 11. This is about the pre. Not sorry, this is about the post. And about the pre, let me again declare the variable. Suppose integer x is equal to 10, then y. Okay. And y is equal to plus x. So now here the thing will happen some differently. Okay. Means first my value for the x will increase. Here. This is a pre, means before performing any kind of operation, first increase the value for the variable x. So my x become 11, and then it will assign value 11 to variable y, right? So my here x is 11 as well as my y is 11. So this is the different output for the pre and the post. In case of post, my y is 10 and x is 11. Whereas in case of pre, my x and y both are the 11. Is it clear? Yes, the theory, everything is given in your textbook. Okay. Later on, after the lecture, you can refer that book. Similarly, pre-increment and the post-increment, there is a pre-decrement and the post-decrement. Okay. So here, again have one variable. Variable A is 10. Then again variable B, and variable B is equal to A minus minus. Right. So here, this is post decrement. Means what happened? First it will assign the value of A to B. So my B becomes 10. And then it will increase the value for the A. No, sorry. Then it will decrease the value for A. So my A becomes 9. Correct? And suppose if I apply pre-decrement. So in case of your pre-decrement, what will happen? So B is equal to minus A. So my B is 9 as well as my A is also 9 here. Okay. So this is the difference between your pre and the post. So in case of post, what will happen? Post means after, pre means before. Okay. So post means first perform the assignment and then increase the value. Whereas pre means first increase the value and then perform the operation. Increase or decrease, whatever the thing operator is given here. This is the minus. So pre-decrement. So first decrease the value and then assign it to the variable. Okay. This is about the pre and the post. These operators are mostly used in your during the program. Okay. Next is the logical operator. Okay. So basically there are three kinds of logical operator: and, or, and the not operator. Okay. And let's consider there are two variables x and y. Okay. So for the AND operator, so this logical or AND operator, suppose there is two variables x and y. Okay. And I want to apply logical AND operator. So in case of logical AND, it will work like true and false condition. Suppose my first value x is false and y is false. So the output is obviously false. Suppose my first condition is false, but the second condition is true. In that case, output is again false. And if I do the reverse thing, the first condition is true, but the second is false. So here the output is false. So for the AND condition, your output is true only when the both inputs are true. Okay. This is for the AND. AND means when the both conditions are true, then and only then your output is true. This is for logical AND operator. Okay. So if both x and y are non-zero, non-zero means true. Okay. Zero means false, non-zero means true. It will return the true. Otherwise, in every case, it is false. You can able to see in this table. When the any single input or when the both inputs are false, then your output is false. Okay. It is true only when your both the conditions, both the operators are true. Otherwise, non-zero. But in case of your OR operator, it happens differently. Okay, x, y, and your OR operator. If the first condition is false, then output is, if the both conditions are false, then output is false. If the first is false and the second is true, then output is true. If the first is true and the second is false, then your output is true. And if both are true, then output is obviously true. Okay. So this is for OR operator, OR condition. OR means either this or this. Out of two, if anyone is true, then your output is true. Okay. And for the AND, the two input should be a non-zero. Means two input should be true. Then and only then your answer is true. Okay. So this, remember these two tables for your logical operators, logical and logical OR. And not is the operator, it is just reverse your value. Okay, suppose, let me write down here the space. Okay. Suppose integer x is equal to 0, and if I apply the not operator, not x, so what it will do, it will reverse the thing, means it will convert my 0 to 1. Okay, means if x is non-zero, will return the true, otherwise return the false value. This is about your AND and the OR operator. Next is the conditional operator. Okay. So the conditional, otherwise it is called as a terminal operator, which works on the three variables. So suppose I want to find out the maximum number. So max is equal to, in the bracket, A is greater than B, A is greater than B, then question mark. It is as per the syntax, question mark, A or B. Okay. Means here, this is the A is greater than B. This is the condition. Okay. So whether the A is greater than B, if the condition is true, then return A. If the condition is false, then return B. Right? Let me give the one example. Max is equal to x is less than y. False. Okay. So here, so if your x is less than y, if this condition is true, then it will return this part. If this condition is false, then it will return the false part. Okay. Means we require the two variables, and this is your kind of ternary operator. Okay, ternary means the question mark and this column. And the next operator is the relational operator. Relational operator defines the relationship between the two variables. And all the C++ operators are the binary operator, and hence it requires the two operands. A relational expression is must made up of a two arithmetical expressions connected by the relational operator. And it returns the zero, means it returns the false when the relation is false, with a non-zero when it is true. Okay. So this is less than, greater than. Okay. So this is less than means is a 5 is less than true? No, it will return the false. So false means what? False means 0, right? Greater than, is 5 is greater than true? Yes, so it will return 1. Less than, equal to, so here it will check either for less than, otherwise for equal to. So here 5 is less than 2. Yeah, no, 5 is not less than 2, so it will return false, means 0. Next, greater than or equal to. So 5 is greater than 2, true, it return 1. Equal to 5 is equal to true, false, means 0. And not equal to, so 5 is not equal to true, yes, true. So here in this case, suppose if I change the variable, change the numbers, suppose I will write 3 is equal to 3. So in this case, what will be the answer? True or false? 3 is equal to 3. Yes, 1. Correct. If here, if I write 3 is not equal to 3, so what is the answer for not equal to condition? 3 is not equal to 3. True or false? Right. Correct. Because they are already equal, na? So it will return the false. False means 0. And again, let me give you the one here, an example. 6 is less than equal to 6. Here, less than equal to. What is the answer? False or true? Yes, true. Why? Because less than equal to will either check for your less than condition, otherwise for the equal to condition. So 6 is equal to 6. You can write anything. You can write false, otherwise you can write 0. But prefer the false in the table. Okay. If you are writing the theory, then prefer true or false. Okay. This is about your relational operator. So again, there are some operators that are still remaining. So that we will discuss that operator in the next lecture. So you can have a break of only 2 minutes. Okay, not more than that. And then we will start your second part. Okay, the next chapter, chapter number 2 from your part 2, right?